What is up, guys? I'm Cassie from Anchored by Books, and today I'm doing something very fun and exciting, and it is my favorite books of 2016, and I'm so flippin' excited. I read 40 books this year, and I'm gonna go over just some of my favorites. I don't even know how many I have on this list. It's not very many, but I do have some pretty good books. One of the books on my list is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I absolutely loved this book. It's about this girl named Lily who loses contact with one of her first loves, and then he comes back into her picture, but she is with someone else. It's about her relationship with her new love interest and kind of how that blossoms, as well as coming back into contact with someone she lost contact with. This is super heartbreaking. This is one of the best Colleen Hoover books I have ever read. It broke my heart, but I felt like this was one of the most raw and true books that Colleen Hoover has ever written. So if you ever want to pick up a new adult book and you've never read Colleen Hoover, this is a fantastic read. I would highly recommend anyone pick this up. It was phenomenal. Another one of my favorites this year was the Paper Princess trilogy. I have not read the third book yet, Twisted Palace. That's the third and conclusion. I'm about 40% through, but I have read Paper Princess and Broken Prince, and they were so freaking good. It was one of those books that's about rich kids, like angsty rich kids, but for some reason I absolutely fell in love with it. Paper Princess follows our main character Ella, whose mother passes away and she doesn't know her father, and Ella but in order to, she's only 17. And in order to keep herself afloat, she is a stripper and she goes to school, and then this man comes in, picks her up from the strip club and says, "You're coming home with me," and finds out it's her long-lost father's best friend. And her father passed away a couple months prior, and she moves in with the Royals, who are extremely rich. It's a bunch of boys and Callum, the father. And there is love, there is loss, there is murder. I mean, it is just like, it sounds so dumb and it just sounds so like mediocre, but it is anything but mediocre. It is just like so good. If you want a very fast-paced, kind of angsty kind of book series, this is totally for you. One of the very tops on my list is The Loose Ends List by Carrie Firestone. This book broke my poor little heart. This story follows a girl named Maddie whose whose grandmother is diagnosed with terminal cancer, and she decides to go on this cruise as kind of her last hurrah. And at the end of the cruise, her grandmother is not coming back. That is not a secret. That is not a spoiler alert. That is just something that is known very upfront. At the end of this cruise, her grandmother will pass away. It's basically kind of assisted suicide kind of thing, where at the end of the cruise, the patients choose to end their lives with a doctor, of course, not just like taking it in their own hands and doing it. So that's a very sensitive subject. Just heads up there. I feel like the characters in this book are so raw and real. Like, I feel like the way Maddie interacts with her family is how I would interact with my family. Like, it just seems so real and not fake. I don't have words for how much I love this book, and it's so underrated. I have heard nobody talk about it, and it breaks my heart. And I was sitting at work when I read the last chapter, the last kind of couple portions of this book, and I was bawling. And last but not least on this list, my number one, and I'm sure it's a bunch of other people too, because I've already seen it on a couple of lists, is the Court of Thorns and Roses series by Miss Sarah J Maas. First one being A Court of Thorns and Roses, and the second being A Court of Mist and Fury. Now, I read this book first, obviously it's the first in the series, and I thought it was pretty good. You know, it was cool. And then this book came out almost right away, and I picked it up, and it blew my mind. This is such an amazing fantasy series. Keep in mind, disclaimer, there are sex scenes in this. If you're not of age, if it makes you uncomfortable, these are not for you. They're very much a new adult / YA kind of feel, but it's a very complex but super easy to follow fantasy world about a girl named Feyre who kills a wolf, and he turns out to be a fae, and she is carried into this fae world, and she has to live with these fae people, and it is just so good because this book made it what it is, and I'm so nervous for the third book. I'm so nervous.
Feyre, Tamlin.
That's it for this video, guys. Let me know what some of your favorite books were for 2016. Comment right down below and let me know, and I'll see you next time. Bye!